Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to Praetor Magic. My name's DM Cross. I'm your host here this evening, and I'm joined, of course, by my co-host here for Reflections of the Council, Phyrexian Walker. How are you doing tonight, buddy?
Doing well. Still can't be seen, so that's always a plus.
Still the unseen, still invisible. Of course, before we get too far into this, we want to remind you guys that we are now sponsored by Ink Gaming. Ink Gaming, your game, your style. Make sure you visit the link down below. That's our affiliate link to go get your custom playmats, dice bags, and more. And also make sure to use our coupon code Praetor10 for 10% off your purchase. That's Praetor10. 10% off. Thank you very much. And what are we talking about today, Frexion? I'm gonna let you do it. You're in the driver's seat today. Enjoy.
Uh-oh. Well, we are talking about ways in which Commander might be able to be changed to be slightly better than the wonderful format it already is and that we all love. But just little ways we could tweak it and make the format maybe a little bit better, a little bit more positive.
But Phyrexian, it's flourishing as it. Never mind. I'm gonna, I'm gonna make everybody like tune out as soon as I get on my soapbox.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
it is a great format. No one's saying it's not a great format, but just because something is great doesn't mean it can't be better.
see, that's how I like to think about it. Cause so I get into these conversations actually a lot on the tweeters, and a lot of it's usually the same topic, which I'm sure we're gonna go over in the next hour or so. But the biggest response is that it don't break what isn't, or don't fix what isn't broken. Wow, I completely murdered that. Don't fix what
Ooh.
isn't broken, and the format's already flourishing, and we're in such a good spot, and we've grown so much so far. Why do we feel the need to change? Like, why not just stay the course and ride the wave as we're going? Because we are growing as a format. And the biggest answer I always have for that is that that's still called stagnation. Like, there's still
Yeah.
the threat of stagnation. If you never do anything because it's good enough now, then you're never going to become actually better. Like, yeah, you're being better, because I honestly think the growth in Commander has been the way that Wizards has pushed the format. We've seen like Gavin Verhey and some other people in R&D come out and say like, yeah, when we design certain cards now in supplemental products or even in standard, like we try to keep like Pauper in mind a little bit more and stand our Commander in line a little bit more while we're designing these other format stuff. Like, I'm sure there's going to be Commander cards in Modern Horizons. I'm sure there's even going to be Pauper cards in Modern Horizons. So they're kind of, I think a lot of the growth is just the attention that you get from the product expanding and being more inclusive in it of itself. It's no longer just this casual format that was created just by some players, which, I mean, that's its roots, right? But it's no longer that anymore. Like, we have a legit annual precon every year where Wizards is printing cards for Commander, much to some people's chagrin, but still, like, that's happening. So the idea that we can't ever change anything because we're doing well, I don't think those two things are related. I think we're doing well because things are being done differently, and that's Wizards putting their hands on it and trying these different things. And that's why the format's growing, because it's getting more attention drawn into it by these new things. But that's my take. I mean, I could be wrong. Who knows? Maybe if we never change anything, it'll just continue to grow until it becomes the most played format. I still think probably either modern or standard are probably played more than Commander. Although I think I kind of feel like every time you hear a content creator, even if they're like a standard pro player or whatever, like they at least talk a little bit about like, yeah, I have Commander deck. Everybody has a Commander deck nowadays, right? So, but yeah, so we're going to be talking about things that we think would be healthy changes for the format. And it's not all going to be just like adding stuff to the format. Some of it might even be taking away, which I know there's a couple things in my head that like I would like to take, change things to go either down or take away. And I think it would be better. I don't know if that made sense, but maybe it'll make sense when we go further into the topic. So, but since I talk about this all the time on Twitter, and Frexing, because you don't have Twitter because you're not a real person, I'll let you go first.
Wow, that was a lot of words. You said a lot of words there. I kept on being like, well, maybe I can get a word in it. No, no. Oh, wait, no. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of agree with you in the fact that anytime you're stagnated, it's never a positive thing. Like you should always be trying to do little things to improve the format, which I think, like you mentioned, Wizards has done
Hmm.
through the supplemental products, through the commander products, through like even printing cards in standard that are clearly like it's like, oh, this card's clearly not really for standard. It's really more of a commander card. Like you aren't gonna this isn't gonna see standard play, but we'll see commander play.
The
Um,
finales.
yeah, well, I think that some of the finales might even see fringe standard play, but for the most part, yeah, the finales.
Yeah, but to like get when you put something in there where like X is 10 and you get like this
Yeah,
awesome effect, like you're printing that a little bit with Commander in mind of this big dumb spell type thing, which is what our format is kind of based in, big dumb spells.
yeah. Um, so I think one aspect of Commander, which I've heard a lot of conversation within the people I know and the people I communicate with, which, like you said, is not through social media, but just through good old fashioned talking to people, is the rules on things like Infect or Soren Markov or Magister Sphinx. Whereas the rules were definitely printed for a standard format with 20 life in mind on those cards. So like Soren Markov, his minus ability says target opponent goes down to 10 life. Magic Sphinx says when it enters the battlefield, target opponent goes down to 10 life. And Infect is obviously if a player has 10 poison counters, they lose the game. So all of these things were set to 10. Why? Why were they set to 10, Seth?
Because it was half the life total.
Because it was half the life total. Well, in Commander, whether you're talking about multiplayer Commander, which is 40 life, or 1v1 Commander, which is now 30 life,
Hmm.
um, is still like more than 20 life. It's more than 20 life format. And when you have to do 21 Commander damage to win, but only 10 Infect damage, that's a big difference. Or when you can all of a sudden play a Soren Markov and you're like, oh, you were at 40? Well, I just took 3/4 of your life away with the Soren on turn 5 because I played a Cryptcast the turn before. Um, and then I can also do this because I still have mana left over. Um, so I don't know. It's just cards like that might could be errated for commander play, um, especially since I don't think any of those cards are seeing plays in play in other formats. I don't think there's a Soren Markov deck running around in modern or anything like that. So when they're pretty much being exclusively played in commander, you would think that it could be errated for that. Infect would be harder because there are like Infect modern decks and like so it's still and there are Infect popper decks, so there's still Infect is still a thing in other formats. But like cards like Magister Sphinx and Soren, I think could be errated to say half your starting life total or stuff like that, which is the way they start printing cards now, right? Like if you look at Dire Fleet Ravager, it doesn't say a certain X amount of life, it says 1/3 of their life or stuff like that. Um, it seems like the way they're going is you use half your life, or you lose a third your life, or stuff like that, or you lose a half the starting life total, or they start printing it based on the starting life total instead of
Just a
kind
set
of, I think,
number.
yeah, instead of just a set number. And I think that is due to fix the problem that exists with those cards. But your thoughts on that?
Um,
I did a lot
hmm.
of words there.
I kind of I've had this discussion before too. For the most part, I think Soren Markov is probably one of those cards that it could probably be collateral damage like banned and nobody would super care. And that's as somebody who likes Soren Markov as a character and everything like that. Like I don't even I think own a Soren Markov card, and if I did, I would play it. But if it got banned, I also wouldn't care, even if I had paid for it beforehand. So I think that card and even like Magister Sphinx, I think are just kind of like cards that I don't care if they never really saw play anymore because it does create like a feel bad situation. For the Infect, I don't know. I find that Infect has such a hard time winning in a multiplayer game, like winning. The only card that I see winning Infect games, and I had it up on the screen before, is Triumph of the Hordes in like token decks. And for the most part, like I could just as easily Crater Hoof or Overwhelming Stampede or Overrun and get pretty much the same effect. This is almost just redundancy, or for the people who like infect just thematically. You know what I mean? It almost doesn't matter if it's this card or 2 more mana for overrun. So I don't know. I think infect is fine. I think Soren Markov could just easily be like gotten rid of, and that would fix that problem. I do
Well,
agree that like moving forward, I hope Wizards continues to does the like percentage of your health, or like third or fourth or half or whatever it is. Like that's what I mean by percentage of your
yeah.
starting health, instead of like here's a set number, because it does, like you said before, it makes it easier to translate across all the formats. But overall, I don't think infect needs to change, and that's as a person who's like lost to infect and plays infect. So I it's not that strong in the format. Infect decks aren't overrunning anybody constantly. You know what I mean?
I'm gonna have to start playing my Skithrix Infect deck every time for 3DH. But my Skithrix Voltron Infect deck that only has to get to 10 commander damage instead of 21. But New Dark Cloud also brings up a good point in some cards I didn't mention, which like Felder Sovereign that wins you the game if you have 40 more or life. Test of Endurance is 50 or more life. Um, like Sarah Ascendant
Yeah.
is, you know, in Commander is a 6/6 flyer for 1 mana when it
Yep.
comes into play. So there are a lot of cards like this that kind of have like these arbitrary numbers on them that were designed for a different format than Commander. That I don't know if we say they just can't be played in Commander, or we do adjust the rulings on them or errata them in some way. Um,
So for like, I have Felidor Sovereign up, and it's a white creature. It costs 6. It's a 4/6 flying or vigilance, lifelink, not flying. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you have 40 or more life, you win the game. Now, because Commander starts at 40, this basically says as long as you kind of stay around your starting life total and keep it around for a round, you win. With stuff like this, again, like I almost never see Felidor winning, and if it does, it's okay. That's cute. Like, will you let it happen a second time? Now that you're aware of it. So if you play against somebody with that deck again, is it going to win you the game every time? And that's kind of like, when we think about these kind of changes, that's kind of what is in my head, is like, are we making it because we don't like, are we making a change because we don't like it, or because it's really affecting the format? And none of these things I ever really see are super hyper altering or warping the game. Like this Felidor Sovereign being the example that I'm using just because it's up on the screen, you really just keep a kill spell up, which chances are most decks and most metas are going to be running at least some kind of removal, whether it's a counter spell in a blue deck or a kill spell in a black deck or a red spell. Green and I mean, a white obviously has exile. Green is probably the weakest to something like this, but then you just have big enough creatures and you stomp them in the face somehow. And even green has a decent amount of removal nowadays. Like, it's, I don't know, it's
it's
is
got Beast
it that
Within and all the
bad?
fight cards and stuff like that. So yeah.
Yeah, but like, is this like, when you lose to this, are you mad, or are you kind of like, all right, you got me? Because me, I'm like, all right, you got me. Danny won with Approach of the Second Sun on Magic Online Commander League 2 episodes ago, and I even turned around. I was like, you know what? I ain't even mad. We fed into her with Smothering Tides. She managed to draw or dig 6 cards in like 2 turns and cast it a second time. She did it because we were all
Jared,
preoccupied with. I think you were the scary person.
no, I wasn't in that one. I didn't lose to an approach.
Who was in that one?
My one game I played with Danny, I killed her first.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Well, I guess I
Uh,
played a second game with her, but
I guess Valdor. Oh yeah,
we
yeah,
just
yeah.
killed
I
her.
remember. It was Valdor was super scary, and we thought was gonna just kind of run away with the game. I remember. I remember
Yeah,
now. But
but yeah. I mean, I'm not saying like these need banned or anything. I'm just saying it is something that a lot of play groups I've seen discuss of like whether to double them or stuff like that because they get ran. I mean, they aren't competitive. Obviously, they're winning the game all the time. They do see play a lot of commander decks.
yeah. And as for Derek, I don't know if this is the point he's trying to make, but this is This is the point that I'm getting from his message. He says, to be honest, there are more cards that will win you the game right then and there, rather than your next upkeep. Not super concerned with cards like Sovereign. So what I take away from that is, again, like, you have to keep it alive. You have to, unless you're gonna flash it in somehow, which is possible.
The Falconori. There you go.
Yeah, like, it's
Done.
possible, but are
You're
how
welcome, Command
again
Zone. I
again
said
how many
one of your
times are
favorite
you
cards.
losing the game that way though? And when you do lose the game, does it make you like that mad? Because again, to me, it's like, ah, all right, and like Videlkin
Yeah.
Orrery's out, you kind of know it's something's gonna happen. Like, you should
Yeah.
be prepared for something.
There's
happening.
shenanigans. There's
Yeah,
shenanigans going down if Honori's in play.
you don't say I need flash or I need instant speed on every one of my spells, and then be like, oh, they're not gonna do anything crazy on somebody else's turn. No, like, you kind of know.
Yeah.
I'm more concerned with Labman than Sovereign stuff. So, and I'm not going to go too deep into this because it's kind of a different conversation. The thing about Labman is just that it, I think it's boring because it's usually the same few combos. Like, it's the same thing over and over again. It's not anything new. It's a win con that as soon as you see it, you're like, oh, I could probably guess what the pieces are. It's kind of the same thing like Blood and Bond, which I don't really like myself either. Blood and Bond being Exquisite Blood and Sanguine Bond. Like, those two pieces are kind of like, I kind of know what you're doing. And I've run like one without the other, and of course nobody ever believes you because just in case. But yeah, like, it. I don't know. Maybe I just don't like common, like super common, obvious combos all the time. But then again,
Eh,
I'll kind of get off with new stuff like the new Helm of the Host and Godo. That's kind of cool because Helm's new, so I'm not over that yet. Helm of the Host plus what was the other one? Neheb for a while with aggravated assault because Helm was new, aggravated assault was new. I mean, not aggravated assault, but Neheb was new. And then, like, stuff like that. It's kind of like, oh yeah, it's cool.
Aurelia
It's
and Helm of the
new.
Host.
Yeah, because again, Helm of the Host was new, so Helm of the Host just kind of broke everything. It was one of those things where it's like it doesn't even have to be an infinite combo piece. It's just a piece of craziness. You don't know what's gonna happen. Helm of the Host can do a million things. Labman is literally gonna play into like two strategies. Blood and Bond are literally just gonna play each other and then find a way to start. That's what they do. So they're boring, I want to say, but I digress. I didn't want to even go that deep into that one.
Hi. So, what is a concern of yours about Commander?
So let me talk to you about planeswalkers as commanders and
gosh. I knew we were going here.
No.
Oh, we're
That's
not
actually
going
that's not one of I think the big ones that I think would be a good change for the format. Something that has been kind of talked about on and off for a little while about changing the starting life total from 40 to 30. That's always been a big one that I think a lot of people will bring up, and I always see a lot of good arguments for it and not necessarily a lot of arguments against it, except that again it's always been like this, and it nerfs quote unquote combo decks, which, I mean, you're trading making aggressive decks a little bit better for nerfing combo decks, and I don't see like where your balance is in that statement. Like, combo decks are combo decks, like they'll find a way to survive because that's what combo decks do. They try to lay in wait and find a way to survive and then go off. Aggro decks have a much harder time because they're trying to end the game faster. The longer, like, the more the game progresses, the less chance they have of winning. So
Yeah.
I just think it would be something that would be good for, like, even Boros decks would get a boon from it. And everybody knows that I crap on Boros decks because I just freaking hate Boros. Or rather, I hate the way Boros is designed. But if we could give decks that really kind of don't have like a huge presence in the format right now and like make them a little bit bigger, I think that would be fun. It would shake things up a little bit. And again, like, I'm a life is a resource type person. 40, it's kind of crazy that people just say, here's this 39 resources that you get from the start of the game, and all you have to do is find ways to use it. It's like saying there's 39 mana just kind of waiting for you, and it never goes away, and you can find ways to replenish it. That's insane. That's just me. I know, like you said, that one-on-one commander is now 30 life, and I don't really know too much about 1v1 commander, so I'm not going to say like, oh, I'm sure aggro decks are very popular in the format. But I would imagine that they at least have an easier time closing out games, or at least doing better. Like, I
I
would be
think
fine.
Voltron and aggro decks already were more popular in that format, just because it's like it was already faster. Because it's like, oh, I only have to kill one opponent. I don't have to worry about killing 3.
Yeah. But even if we just gave them a little bit of boost where like they were performing better, because to me, one of the things about Commander for me is how well I perform in the game. So I don't have to win every game because statistically I should only ever win 25-ish% of my games, right? And in if all my games are ever 4-person, I should only more or less, if I'm an average player, I should win about 25% of them. I like to believe sometimes I win a little bit more, although if you watch the streams, it's probably not true. Anyway, I don't think aggro decks have that same kind of like 25% win rate. Like if you put a control deck, an aggro deck, a reanimator deck, and a combo deck all together, I don't think that aggro deck's gonna win 25% of the time. That's my opinion. And we could probably like do some kind of testing that would take like months and months and months to get more like a better statistical answer to that. But if the life total I think was lower, I think they would at least perform better. If not win more, perform better. Like there would be more impact. Like people would be more afraid of the aggro deck because they can swing out 10 damage. 10 damage at 40, that's only a quarter. 10 damage at 30, that's a 30-year life. That's a big jump. So that's what
Yeah,
I
that's
think.
like a whole 8% jump.
That's what I'm saying. I was about to say 8%, and I'm like, no, is that 7%? Am I really bad at math? I'm not gonna say it. Because then you're gonna pick up on it and you're gonna give me crap for the rest of the damn thing. Oh, 7% when it's the 33 minus 25, right? Seth? But yeah, I think the 30 life total thing, I think that would be fine. Because again, I don't think it would kill the format. And that's another huge thing. Like, it's something we could try. And if it didn't work, you just be like, all right, hey, look, we're going back to 40. Just, it's okay. And I think it would be fine. I think it'd be good. And then, like, there are so many, like, decks where, like, infinite life becomes a thing. So I don't think it would really, like, combo decks that kind of rely on life totals, they're already going to have life totals. They're already going above 40. Like, they're already going above their starting life total. But how many times have
And
you, like, knocked somebody down to 5?
God
And
knows
then,
who would care if it really hurt the ad nauseum combo decks that much.
well, there you go. But seriously, though, how many times have you knocked somebody down to 5 but then lost that game because they came back? If they had 10.
I've been at 1 before and came back and won a game.
Well, yeah, but you're a bad person, so we want you to lose. But seriously,
Well,
though, if you didn't have 10 life at the beginning of the game, or that 10 extra life, I don't want to say extra, but 10 more life than what I'm suggesting, you wouldn't be in that game at all at that point. And, like, aggro players, I'm sure, have dealt with the frustration of getting somebody down 2-1, down to 5, and then losing the game the next couple turns because I found a way to stabilize, there was a board wipe, blah, blah, blah. And again, like, aggro decks are still going to be affected by the same kind of board wipes, but it still gives them, like, a chance to get in before the big board wipe or kill somebody before the big board wipe. Because again, even if they perform better, I think that's an improvement for them. And again, I don't think combo decks and stuff like that are going to be hurt like super hard. My opinion. I don't know. Depends on how you're talking aggro. Boris Weenies, no chance. Something like mono green Zavala where you can spit out Eldrazi Titan turn 3 or 4, definitely. No, I think even Weenie decks will be improved. That's me personally. I think weenie decks are still going to be improved because again, 5/1/1s is more dangerous at 30 than 5/1/1s at 40. Like that's just how the numbers work out. Oh, the 25% at 40 left. Oh, okay. Never mind. I see what you're saying.
New Dark Cloud also brings up commander damage.
What do we want to talk about commander damage is the big question. Because I've heard everything from we should change the number to we should get rid of it to we should change that it's each person can only take 21 total commander damage from all people. So there's been a bunch of different options thrown out there.
There have been a lot of different options. I kind of am in this category. I'm kind of a proponent of leaving it as is because I don't think 20 much. I don't think it's too much. I don't think it's low. I think it's kind of the right number. I don't like the idea of 21 from any commander because that just gets complicated to keep track of. You know, it's a lot more. It's a lot easier to say, "Oh, I have 21 damage from this one" than total. I guess. I mean, I
I
don't know.
think
Maybe it's not really that bad, but also like I think you do need because, like you said, infinite life gain is a thing,
yeah.
or there's tons of life gain is a thing, and you do need a way to handle that life gain deck other than I have to combo off and win to beat the life gain deck.
Yeah.
Either a combo deck beats it, or no, we're just gonna watch the life gain deck. I do like it as a counter, which I think is why it exists to begin with, as a counter to life gain strategies and stuff like that.
So let me I don't want to say devil's advocate, but let me
Hey, do
do a
it.
hypothetical on you. If life totals went down to 30 to start, mana damage was either done away with or changed, do you think that increases stuff uh like do you think that will increase infects rate of play, like how often you see it? Because right
Hmm.
now, a lot of people say, well, Voltron decks or commander damage are a way to deal with infinite life gain. And that's true, right? If you
Mm-hmm.
can't kill somebody with your creatures and your commander can, then there you go. But if that were taken away, let's just say, does infect then see more play, or does combo like maybe see more play, or does control become harder to keep the infinite life, or does the infinite life deck just become more powerful? I don't
I don't know. That's a complicated mathematical
know.
equation you just proposed.
I threw
Because
all
I
these
mean,
variables.
anytime you do change something, whether it's dropping to 30 life or getting rid of commanders or anything like, you do create a vacuum situation in which it's going to take the meta a while to adjust.
Yeah,
Just like when in the standard meta, when they come down and they ban like whatever Jace the Mind Sculptor or whatever card they banned, you know, they banned it for a reason to readjust the meta, and the meta is going to take time to readjust. So I don't know, like it kind of be hard to make predictions on that without actually like because
playing it.
Commander
Yeah,
is such a complicated format anyway, and the fact that anything is really playable,
yeah,
especially if you're just playing, casual kitchen table Magic with your friends. I mean, if you're playing CDH, obviously that's a different monster, but the majority of Commander players aren't playing Commander for CDH. So really, I mean, you can do anything. You can do 1/1 counters. You can do life gain. You can play the janky deck that's just trying to win with Paladin Sovereign and you know off of a Dalkanori. You've got the options.
yeah.
So I
I
don't know.
think I think from a new person perspective, just to go back to the original question about changing commander damage, I think the everybody's commander damage is one number is probably easier to learn. I think I've taught a lot of people how to play commander. In my last station, my wife and I were like the house to go to for new magic players and then new commander players because all we play is commander right now. Um, so we taught a decent amount of people because that group got to be over 20 people, and a lot of those people hadn't played Magic before. All they had ever played was Standard. And one of the things that I think trips people up the most is when they're like, oh well, I'm gonna go to 21 commander damage and I'm gonna die, and they're like, we have to explain to them, it's like, no, you took like 6 commander damage from this person and then 8 from that person. That's 14 total, but that's not 14 from one source. And people look at you kind of like, wait, what do you mean? I'm like, well, that person's commander damage on you is different from the next player's commander damage on you, and then the next player's commander damage on you. It's not all
Yeah,
21 collectively. And the initial thing that most people, again, only that I've taught, which is obviously very anecdotal, but the main assumption is always that it's 21 damage from commanders, not
yeah.
each commander. So I think it would probably be easier to teach people that way. Um,
But I think Red Deck Trials brings up a very good point that he said it would make it hating people out including way easier.
yeah,
So all of a sudden you do run into those. I know politics part of the game, but you would run into those situations where it's like, hey, we really don't want you in the game anymore. I can hit him for 10 commander damage on my turn, and he already has 6. So all you have to do is hit him with your 5/5 flying commander on your turn, and he's dead. Um,
yeah, but
I guess that just means you got to plan for that better in
yeah.
some ways, but
it
That can be
becomes
hard. It can be hard, especially when you're like, you might have to block the one commander, and that just opens you up to the other ones getting in for the where they might not be able to get in for 21, but they could get in for 21 together.
yeah,
It does make the game more complicated than for like in terms like it makes it less complicated to more like commonsensical, I guess, but it does make it more complicated for the person trying to make the right plays in the moment.
yeah. I
And
think
particularly if you get
overall,
in that situation where people are trying to team up on you
yeah.
for whatever reason. Maybe you're scary and deserve to be teamed up on. I know I've had that happen a lot to me.
And I think that kind of is where I'm going with this is that so many times when somebody becomes arch enemy and like if they're making it hard for the other people to play the game, it's easier for them to run away with the game. And if you're making it hard enough, the game does at least and this is my opinion because some people are fine with like it being hard to play the game. But if it gets to a point where I feel like I'm not going to be able to do anything for the rest of the game and it's going to be a slow win, it starts being not fun. Like I'm here to play Magic, let's play Magic. Even if it's challenging, but if it's getting to the point where I can't do anything and there's no way I'm going to get out of it, then it's like, all right, well then I guess I'm done. If it makes it easier for the table to recognize that like, hey, let's get rid of this person because they're making it hard for everybody, I think that's actually still a good thing. And again, like you're saying, it's not just gonna be like, oh well, I can't be scary ever because then I can't, like they're just gonna kill me. Like you then have to change the way that you plan. Like you have to change the way that your deck is constructed. You have to change the way that your protection is like built into the deck to prevent that from happening. So whether it's more removal, more RAS, more stuff like people run. I obviously people are already running like Teferi's protection like crazy, but stuff like that, like or like fog, maybe fog just becomes a better spell because prevent damage like one green mana, prevent damage from the commander that would have killed me. Maybe that's the outcome, at least for like green decks, obviously. But like maybe those effects just become more popular as a way of like I just need one more turn and boom, here's my
I
surprise.
mean, isn't it Kami of the Crescent Moon and White too? You've got options. White has options too, green and white.
You mean Kami of the False Hope?
Also, yeah. Crescent Moon's the blue one, right?
Yeah, that's the like draw more cards one. Kami of the False Hope is the sacrifice the deal or prevent all combat damage.
Yeah, see, White has those options too.
Yeah, I mean most colors have something, whether it's force them to sacrifice an attacking creature, which is also white, potentially be black if you're in this situation, or kill spells. Like you have to run your deck differently. You have to pack different kinds of answers if you think your deck's going to be the one to become arch enemy.
So
Some
Esper
people,
says he's not even sure that 21 total commander damage would come up. Says how many popular commanders are low power but high synergy?
and that's
Power
that's a
is a
really good
power
point
type.
too. We just saw what was it? Commander Versus, I think last week. No, not the last week that they played, but the last one that was uploaded. Jeremy was playing Tashar, and he was hitting Suarez for 2 commander damage a time. Now, that would have taken forever, but Justin was running Dargaz Reignited, which is a 6/6 or a 7/7. I can't remember. But so, like, imagine if they could, when Suarez was being the scary Najila player at a budget table, and like his deck was budget too, but imagine if they teamed up and were able to just like Justin didn't attack Suarez a bunch of times because he couldn't deal that 21 commander damage with his commander. But Jeremy got up to like 14 commander damage. One hit from Dargaz would have killed Suarez under this kind of rule. Ooh, excuse me. And if that rule had existed, then you do have the opportunity to basically be like, all right, well, the Nagila player is going crazy. Here's my little ping damage. And then all of a sudden, hey, look, prime moment, I'm going to get in and get rid of the scary player. And then, of course, the game just evolves from there because, well, who was the second scariest? You know what I mean? So I think that would be a fine rule. I think some people would obviously get more upset. I think the people who would get upset are the people who find themselves to be the arch enemy a lot and have survived in the past because the rule wasn't that way. Like
Yeah.
me, I like to make a splash in games. I like to be the person that you have to deal with. Now, I'm not going to admit it in the middle of the game before everybody's like, well, Seth, you always say you're not the scary person at the table, not to attack you. Yeah, I don't want people to kill me. But I do like that moment. Like, at the end of the day, those games are good games if I got to that point. Because that means my deck performed well enough to do a thing.
If you got to the point that everybody else is like, oh, we need to smack him down.
Yeah, then I've probably done what I came here to do. And if everybody teams up and does that, I mean, then that happens, and that's what should really happen. And that's what happens in Arch Enemy games. It's just this makes it a little bit easier to do. So,
Dang,
all right. Um, we
that's
we
another
have
thing.
we have like 20 minutes. So we just want to talk about Planeswalkers as Commander for 20 minutes, or should we just do a whole different podcast on that one? Um, I am drawing a blank on what some of the other ones that I had, and I did have like a list of things. Oh, you know what? You know what I want to talk about? Hold on.
What do you want to talk about?
This is one that I'm not in favor of, but it gets talked about a lot, and I want to try to represent as many different things as we can here. Hybrid mana, and in conjunction with that, off-color fetches. This has become a thing. So for those of you who don't know, hybrid mana is when the mana symbol is cut in half, like you see on Kiora Behemoth Beckoner, where it's 2 and then it's blue or green. So you can have blue mana or you can have green mana. The color identity. Thank you very much, Kalanier, for the with a raid. Thank you very much. um so with Kiora, she is a Simic color identity. And so for brawl purposes, because she's a planeswalker, her deck can be green or blue. But you cannot run Kiora in a blue deck or a green deck, like monocolored. A lot of people think that that should be changed. I am of the opinion that the color identity, like, I'm one for like opening up and getting around like restrictions and blah blah blah, but I'm not so sure that like color identity is one of the things that the format was kind of built on, and that is the kind of restriction that I do believe breeds creativity. Whereas if you open it up too much, you're basically just playing singleton, like 100 card eternal singleton, as opposed to playing commander. If the colors don't matter anymore, it doesn't feel like commander anymore to me. So that's kind of like a thing. And then as far as the off-color fetches, so like Arid Misa, like I could run Arid Misa, which goes and gets either a plains or a mountain. Because it doesn't have a mana symbol on it, I can run it on a deck that doesn't allow red or doesn't allow white in order to get like a red-black or a white-black land. If obviously the colors align to that deck. I personally, I want to say that I don't judge people who do it because I understand that it's efficient, but I also never do it myself. I won't run a fetch land that doesn't get colors within my commander's color identity. I just don't do it. So for this particular kind of thing, I think this should be kind of stopped. Personally, I know that's probably the worst thing to ever say, and I think the hybrid mana thing shouldn't change. I get that sometimes it's like dumb little spells, but I don't know. I can't get over the fact that it's like your card is blue in a green deck. I can't get that out of my head. Or like you're going to fetch, like you could fetch a black land in a green deck, in an all green deck. Like that to me just it blows my mind. I just can't
Casper's
afford
like, I
fetch
just can't afford them.
That's fair.
That is fair. That is very fair. They've gotten very high again.
Yeah, well, I mean, with the reprinted Shocklands, they were bound to. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I just I don't know. How do you feel about this? Like both things.
I very much agree with you on the hybrid mana thing. Like I don't like the idea of opening up and saying, "Oh, okay, this is I agree. Like if it's red green, your commander better be red green. Like if you're regardless of what it is, whether it's like New Kiora, like no, you can't play it in mono blue decks. No, you can't play it in mono green decks. You have to play it in Simic decks or Sultai decks or decks that where your commander have both colors. I agree with that. Um, but the fetch lands, I don't find it as big a deal. One, I guess I'm kind of with the Esperderic camp of I don't have a lot of the fetches. Like some of my decks have some of the fetches, but not a lot. There's some that have definitely been too expensive. I've just never bought or acquired. The ones I do have, I mostly opened in Zendikar when I was playing Zendikar Standard, and opening boxes back then. So, I guess that one's just not as big a deal to me, mainly because of my play group and my meta just doesn't have a lot of fetches. So, but I could see why you would make the argument that if you have a land that's fetching, it should be able to fetch any of your colors or none of your colors. Because I guess it does make for better but lazier deck building, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes your deck more efficient, but it's, I guess, a lazier way of doing it.
Yeah. And again, like I always feel like I can't, as the way I play, I don't always just like, oh, people are like, oh, you don't have to run the best stuff because, other people don't always run like the super high budget items and blah blah blah. And I'm like, yeah, I mean you're right, but I also want my deck to be as good as possible. So when it comes to the conversation of efficiency, that's where I always get tripped up in here, is because I'm very much like, how do I make my deck as good as possible? And sometimes the answer really is run more fetch lands. That makes your deck more consistent. This is like the one thing I can never get around of, like, but it is more efficient, but it doesn't feel like the right thing to do. I shouldn't be able to get, like, I don't know. It's weird. Maybe it's because like visually, like when you look at the fetch lands, they look like they have red and white like coloring in them, and maybe that trips me out. And it's just like an emotional attachment to the colors and then the color identity. Because again, this doesn't have.
So I shouldn't be able to run Arid Mesa to get my stomping ground in my Gruul deck.
No, you're a bad person because there's white on that card. There's not
uh,
really like white mana symbols.
Esper says that he thinks Hybrid of Mana should be either color allowable.
Mm-hmm.
So he's in the camp that says, yeah, let him play it both ways.
So, in the idea that Cure doesn't do anything that blue or green doesn't do, yes, but no, because like the passive ability is a green ability. The minus ability is a blue ability. So the passive is whenever a creature with power 4 or greater enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card, and the minus is -1 untap target permanent. Well, one, no, I guess there's blue stuff as well as Simic stuff. I was gonna say like I automatically thought of Kira's follower when I read it out loud, but there are just some blue things that just say untap. Untapping shenanigans aren't really as green as they are unless they have blue with them. So Cure is a good card that embodies both colors, but that's because she is both colors, and that's the thing, is that's why she's a Simic card, is because she has a little bit of green, she has a little bit of blue. She doesn't have just a mono green feel to her. She doesn't have just a mono blue feel to her. And again, that's my opinion. So green can untap things, yeah, but not to the same way. And blue can draw cards, yeah, but again, it's drawing cards based on the power of your creature, which is the greener way to draw cards.
Yeah.
If you look at green
It's
draw power,
the Garrick's Pack Leader, the Colossal Majesty, the what's the one for 2 and a green that's for 3
there's
power?
Elemental Bond,
Yeah, Elemental
there's
Bond. Yeah,
Drum Hunter,
yeah.
there's like even Guardian Project. It's creature based draw, which is green's way to draw cards. Blue is just draw cards. You play a spell to draw cards. So I don't know. That little delineation matters to me. Like, again, she has a really good green aspect and a really good blue aspect, which is why she's a really good Simic card. She embodies a lot of what Simic does. So I don't see why people, like, I don't see her as a green card or a blue card. She's a green blue card. That's just me. New Dark Cloud also said earlier on, what if the hybrid exception was lifted for monocolored commanders only? The only thing that I have about that is that, again, you go back to the
Gets
teaching
complicated.
people. It becomes
Yeah.
convoluted to teach people. Well, why can I play Kiora in a mono green deck, but I can't play Kiora in a green black deck, for instance?
Yeah.
Oh, well, because monocolors get a bonus. Which, I mean, like, I don't think monocolors need that kind of bonus anyway. I think they need other things, maybe, but not like, I don't know. It creates it's too much of a situation where somebody's gonna go, I just don't get it. It doesn't make sense, so this format's too complicated for me. And that's my biggest fear, is that we create rules where this format's too complicated for me, which is again like where my stance was with the commander damage thing. It just makes it simpler for people to be like, if you get hit by 21 total damage from somebody's command, from the table's commanders, you die. That's simple.
Yeah, but
Split
by all
mana
means, Esper,
going.
disagree with us and do your own podcast. That's fine. But I mean, we're obviously not the be-all end-all on this. We're just two guys spouting off our own little opinions, for what they're worth. Which, frankly, as far as mine's concerned, isn't worth much.
I also, for the record, I hate the extort rule. I hate that
Uh,
exception. It makes sense in like the reading of the rules, but I also hate it. I think extort cards should be
Orzhov.
Orzhov cards. And again, like I run Blind Obedience and now Black decks, but if they changed the rule, like I wouldn't, I wouldn't be mad. I would actually turn and be like, thank God, this is so much easier now. Because again, it goes right back to it's annoying to explain it to people because people will be like, he can't run that card. It's white black and his deck is black blue. No, unfortunately, Pontiff of Blight is a black card, and that white little blip of white in its reminder text doesn't count because reminder text doesn't count toward color identity. Well, why not? Look, man, I don't know.
Why does
I don't
reminder
make the
text not
rules.
count and rules text does? Because there's Najila and she's 5-colored, but she only has red in her mana cost. Oh, but see, that's rules text. That's different than reminder text. Rules text,
Yeah,
yeah, I mean,
I'm
it
very
does.
much I very much agree with that point of like Exort should just be Orzhov. Like that would have been the simplest way to do it. I don't know. I don't know because I was always under the impression that color identity kind of came up for Commander because that's the only place where it really matters.
Yeah.
Or okay, I guess that's not 100% true, but that's the main place where it matters. So I don't know if those rules came from the Commander thing becoming more popular and like Wizards just finally like put it in there officially like here's to support that ruling, or if there was something in there for like something else. But I think Extort is like the bane of my existence when teaching people how to play Commander. Literally the bane of my more so than the Commander damage thing being separated. I will say that one comes up quicker, but the Extort thing is the bane to explain because people just don't get it because it doesn't make sense and it doesn't have to make sense. I would be fine if we rolled back Memnarch and Najila. So are you saying like Najila would be mono red only? That doesn't make any sense. Now I'm just confused. Now I don't know what we're doing.
Yeah. I don't think we could roll back some of those.
I mean, it
Or
would.
Joda can't be 5-color. I mean, it would
Yeah.
just make certain commanders unplayable then.
Which I mean, I'm not super against, but I don't know. I think it's because the rules just have been this way that I think you would lose so many people who are either enfranchised or getting to be like the super enfranchised players if you were to try to roll back that rule at this point. Like they'd be like, no, this isn't my commander, is how it would be. And I don't know. It's a weird change because that's just never how color identity has worked. Like, what is the basis for that change? What do we improve upon by making like Najila not as good, or Extort, or hybrid mana better? Like, what is the big benefit of Cura being in mono green or green black decks or green white decks or whatever? As opposed to having to explain to people like, well, there's a blue mana symbol on their card. You know what I mean? Like, where's your trade off? What balance those scales for me? That's kind of where I would. We make it make sense to new players. I actually think people. I think the Exort thing is more confusing to people because the once you explain color identity, it does make sense with hybrid mana. I think people get more hung up on why is a white black symbol on a card not or allowed in a not white or not black deck as opposed to well why is this green blue card in your not green or not blue deck. I don't think those are the same level of confusing to people. And again, I haven't been a new player in like the longest time, so I could be wrong, but I'm just going off of what has tripped people up when I tried to teach them. Riss is green black because his casting cost is green makes little sense. We're talking about the Riss the Exiled as opposed to Riss the Redeemed. Because whenever somebody says Riss, I don't really care about Riss the Exiled. He's not a real card.
Mm-hmm.
he is a real card, but I don't care. But I don't know. Is there anything? Did we miss anything? I don't want anybody to have brought something else up. I'm still against the fetch land thing. I think hybrid mana should be either color allowable. For example, okay, yeah. I don't know. I can't get through it. I just there's a blue symbol there. There's a blue and a green symbol. It is a Simic card. And again, like some of it might be visually because a lot of these cards tend to have this green to blue gradient thing where like the one side is green and then it fades over to blue. So maybe it's again the visual thing of I can't put this in a non-blue or non-green deck because it's a green. It's literally a colored green blue card. Maybe I can't get over the visuals of it. I don't know. There you go. I don't know. Would you change anything else there, Phyrexian? Are you done ruining the format?
I mean, not really. I mean, we don't have time to talk about planeswalkers as commanders or cards that we would see
No.
banned or
Let
thrown
me
out.
tell you why
or-
planeswalkers should be commanders. Because I
We
said
don't-
so. There we go. Conversation over. I'm being completely sarcastic. For those of you who are listening out in podcast world after this goes up on like Podcast Addict and everything else, that was completely sarcastic. I was smiling the whole time at my own absurdity. But I got one last one before we wrap up. Real quick. Should we change? This one's a recent one, and I have no idea where it came from because again, it just sounds crazy to me because I don't understand why. Should the maximum hand size change and be increased? Not necessarily the starting hand either. That's been the craziest thing. People are like, no, it's fine to start with 7 cards, but you're allowed to have more, like up to 10. Yeah, you thinking about it? It's weird, right?
Yeah.
That went across Twitter like 2-3 weeks ago. Somebody was turned around and was like, we should just get rid of maximum hand size altogether in Magic, all formats. And I was like, listen here, crazy, go take your meds because I don't know what you're doing right now and I don't like it. And there were some people who tried to defend it and everything. And I don't know, it blows my mind. I don't see what again, it's a matter of, is the benefit that great? And I don't think it is. I'm very curious to see if anybody in the chat has opinions on this. Bring back Owling Mind. Get rid of partners too. 2 cards. Can't be your 1 legend. Unless it's written in the rules. Same thing with planeswalkers as commanders. I do think moving forward they shouldn't do partner ever again. I like the partner with ones. I still think they can probably tweak partner with to basically like, partner with either, I don't know, maybe like partner with and then a code word so that like you could have 4 or 5 different partner withs that all have the same code word, like partner with Orzhov. So like Ralzeric and Tomic from the story, right? They were a couple. So Ralzeric partner with Orzhov, so he could partner with an Orzhov because they had a guild. Like he worked with Kaya and everything. Like he obviously wasn't a big fan of Vraska in the story, so he can't partner with any other guild, but like partner with Orzhov because he got along with the Orzhovs in the story. Like stuff like that is possible because then you could have multiple legendary creatures in Orzhov. So you're limited, but you have a broader way than just this specific legendary creature. And I don't have a problem with the Battle Bond partner with. I just think it might be an interesting way to open it up a little bit. Give me a raw atomic ship right now. Raw atomic, Chandra Nissa partners woo. Battle Bond partners were fine. OG partners were bad. The problem with the OG partners was that
They would have put all the Gatewatch together as partners. Just planeswalker partner commanders. The entire Gatewatch.
There was no
Done.
scalability with partners. It was literally like, here's our 15, but how do we ever add to this? We have to go back and look at every other past 15, and then every other one released after that, and there's no way to balance that because there's power creep in Magic. If you don't believe me, go look at the original legendary creatures as opposed to what we have right now. So there's
go look at Legends.
Yeah, exactly. Go look at those. Go look at the legendary creatures we have now. There's been power creep in Magic since 25 years ago. Every set has to be a little like not every set has to be more powerful than the last one. That's definitely not what I'm saying. But every so often, like, you have to turn around and look at the power creep has changed. Oh, that's good. I've been sitting down, but I hit my 10,000 steps today. Congratulations, me.
How about Jasmine Boreal, which is 3 a green and a white, 5 mana for a legendary human creature, a 4/5. And all the text you get is peace must prevail, even if the wicked must die. That's it. You just get flavor text. No abilities, no keywords, no nothing.
Yeah.
It's a 4/5 for 5 mana.
So
Selesnya.
Yeah, right. So like power creep's gonna happen. So if they were to try to release more and more partners, you'd have to then compensate the power creep of just Magic with what the partners could do in the past. because eventually it's gonna break. So I think partner as this like pool of things was always doomed to fail. It was a cool concept, and they made it better with partner with. I think there's a middle ground because partner with is so restricted that it's like literally just here's your single commander or here's your dual commander and that's it. I think there's a little bit in between, hopefully more toward the partner with way. So again, we have something that we can build on in the future, but not so restrictive that it's like boom, that's your two choices, that's it, or three choices because it's one, or them together. Power creep has changed in no small part thanks to commander sets. I disagree that it's specifically commander sets. Like before commander was a big thing, power creep was just happening in Magic. Because again, like legendary creatures didn't get more powerful because of commander. Legendary creatures got more powerful because wizards had to create better legends, or else it would just be more of the same. Imagine if all our legendary creatures were just 5 mana 4/5s. You know what I mean? Like that power creep was happening not just because of commander, but just in Magic. And
Now,
there's not really commander playable stuff that just was power creep at the time.
I'm gonna give a comparison card now. This is printed in a Commander Precon. Rabo, Roar of the World, who is also for 3, a green, and a white. Same mana cost. 5/5, number 1. Imminence at the beginning of combat on each turn. Arabo War of the World is in the command zone or on the battlefield. Another target cat you control gets +3/+3 until end of turn. And whenever another cat you control attacks, you may pay 1, a green, a white. If you do, it gains trample and gets +X/+3. Yes, it's cat specific. Yes, it is. It's cat tribal, but still, that's so much more value for 5 mana than the 4/5 vanilla creature with nothing.
Hey, can we talk about how you just completely sabotaged me by bringing up a commander card? Let's just talk about that for a second. No, commanders not part, or the commander precons aren't the only reason of power creep. By the way, look at this eminence card that everybody hates because it's eminence.
Because it's Eminence?
Yeah. Let's talk about how they did power creep specifically in commander precons, as you made that point against that 5 seconds ago.
I didn't mean to exactly, but I did have to bring up a counterexample.
Yeah. Oh god, New Dark Cloud. Make partners that each have eminence abilities? Ah.
Oh gosh.
That would be, oh god, the balance would be, again, unless there was like partner with, whether it's the battle bond version of partner with or something else, that would just be god awful. Like balance wise. I'm not saying the cards would be, chances are they would have to make the cards super underwhelming and you would never want to play them by themselves. Where like some of the battle bonds cards are fine by themselves, but most of them are good together. Ooh, excuse me. It's even the worst eminence card. Yeah, that's true. I mean, compare Boreal there to Rasputin, who is in the same set. You actually occasionally see Rasputin by people who can afford the $150 price tag for it. Yeah. First of all, let's talk about spending $150 on Magic cards. But yeah, you're right. This is the same set, and obviously Rasputin does a lot more stuff. Being a 6-drop for a 4/1 human wizard. Enters the battlefield with 7 dream counters on it. Remove a dream counter. Add 1 colorless to your mana pool. Remove a dream counter. Prevent the next 1 damage that would be dealt to Rasputin this turn. At the beginning of your upkeep, if Rasputin started the turn untapped, put a dream counter on it. Rasputin can't have more than 7 dream counters on it. So, obviously, a much different kind of commander from whatever Jasmine, whatever that Phyrexian read off. That was
Jasmine
a vanilla
Boreal.
4/5. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Again, like yeah, like right here is just a difference in power levels. And we could, if we had the time, we could go back from this set and just start looking at legendary creatures as they came out to see the power creep. It wasn't all due to command. Don't get me wrong. The commander cards that they print in the commander precons do involve power creep. I'm not saying that they don't. And I don't want that to be like misconstrued. I'm just saying that it's not solely because of the commander precons that we see power creep in Magic in general.
Oh yeah. Oh definitely.
That's my point. Like commander Magic in general is just power creeping all over. Yes, in the commander precons, but standard cards have changed commander as well. not always in the same way. I mean, look at how friggin' crazy the Scarab God was for a while. Looks almost like an early concept Planeswalker. I like that. Because everybody always points back to the original Jaya Ballard for Planeswalker, or like Deathrite Shaman, right? First Planeswalker with Deathrite Shaman. But yeah, Dream counters as loyalty counters. I like that. That's a cool comparison. I would argue that the precons in certain cards and sets are more focused toward the format, opposed to say standard or modern or whatever, and thus more powerful for commander. Yes, I agree with that. And I wasn't trying to say that that wasn't the case. I was just trying to say that there is power creep in all of Magic, regardless, not just in the commander sets. But yes, I do think that the commander centric cards are obviously because they're made for commander, right? I would say that I bet if we went back and looked at all the like standard cards that have changed or like made a big impact in Commander, I bet if we could go back to R&D and ask like, "Hey, did you think about Commander when you made this?" I don't want to say like 9 times out of 10 or anything crazy like that, but I would bet more times than not, like not 5 out of 10, it would at least be 6 out of 10 times they would say, "Yes, we did think about Commander for this." So when they make cards for Commander, those cards stick for Commander better. Even if it's in standard or whatever. But that is, of course, we could go a lot deeper on this topic, but I think we could kind of wrap this up. We had some interesting conversations. Talked about life totals. We talked about infect. We talked about commander damage. We talked about starting hand totals. We talked about hybrid mana, fetch lands, and I think I'm missing like 2 things. Like, what were the first 2 things we talked about?
Like cards with numbers.
Oh yeah. Okay,
That's the best way I can describe it. You know, the Soren Markov problem. Let's call it that instead.
Cards with numbers. Phyrexian, what game are you playing where the cards don't have numbers? And please explain them to me. Although, to be fair, there are cards without numbers on them. Yes, I know. Thank you. Oh no, maybe not true because of the collector. No, never mind. The old cards don't have collector numbers. God damn it. Anyway, we had fun. We hope you guys had fun. Thanks again to Kalanier for the raid. We appreciate it. That brought 10 people into the chat. Of course, if you enjoy listening to this over on YouTube or on your favorite podcast platform, make sure you tune in to us on Mondays at 9 p.m. Eastern Time at twitch.tv/Praetor Magic. That's where we record these with the live chat that you guys are listening to us read the messages of. Of course, you can find more content over at youtube.com/Praetor Magic. Follow us on twitter.com/Praetor Magic to know when we're going live and when a video goes up. And then there's also facebook.com/Praetor Magic, instagram.com/Praetor Magic, and the Discord that you can join for free. I've noticed a lot of people do their like Discords are Patreon only, and like you only have to give them like $1 or whatever. But no, ours is free. You can just come talk to us. We're very lonely people.
Well, yeah, and without the Discord, you couldn't talk to me at all. So I mean,
that's true. Phyrexian doesn't have what we would call the social medias.
Yes, no social medias for Phyrexian. But also, thank you. I'd like to say thank you. You guys were great tonight. Like chatting, giving us stuff to talk about, firing back and forth with us. So that's all. It always is great with these podcasts when you guys do that, and just it gives us a better flow, gives us more, more to talk about. I mean, we talked an hour about this, and honestly, I was kind of worried that it was just going to be a lot of Seth monologuing, me monologuing, but you guys jumped in. It was great.
Did you just call me a villain because you said I'm monologuing?
I was worried that it could be that on this topic, where it could just be us spouting off our opinions and then being like, okay, it's your turn to spout off your opinion for a while about this. And but no, it was great. I enjoyed it. And it was because of you guys in chat that I enjoyed it so much.
He just called me the villain. Wow, I'm hurt. I'm distraught. But you can cheer me up, of course, by going over to our sponsors over at Ink Gaming. Check out the playmats, dice bags, and everything else that they have over there. Remember to use the Praetor 10 coupon code. Get 10% off your entire purchase, and of course, help us out. Help us keep making content like this. So you can also see us on twitch.tv/Praetor Magic Tuesdays at 8:30 p.m. with John and Danny. They do variety streaming, and then I didn't do last Thursday because of being hurt. But normally on Thursdays at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, you can catch us. And Kalanier, thanks for the bits. We appreciate it. They got to get those bits right at the end of the day. But until next time, come see us tomorrow, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. For those of you in podcast world, Thursday at 9 p.m. or again on Monday 9 p.m. Eastern time for another one of these fun chats. And until next time, that's all we got. Peace.
Peace.